What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The billionaire founder of Foxconn, Terry Gou, has officially thrown his hat into the ring to become Taiwan's next president. Our reporter Ed Moon was there for the announcement.
After months of speculation, Foxconn founder Terry Gou has announced a bid for the biggest job of his career. And he's chosen this venue, just a few hundred meters from the presidential office in Taipei, to announce that he's going to run to be Taiwan's next president in 2024.
我郭台铭今天要郑重地向各位报告，我决定以总统参选人的身份投入2024总统大选。
He's one of the most famous faces in Taiwan, known for building an electronics giant that makes everything from iPhones to electric cars. That name recognition gives him a higher profile than any other candidate for the presidential election next year. But he's entering a crowded race, in a situation that's never been seen before in Taiwanese presidential elections, with 4 candidates each polling over or near 10%. The ruling party's Lai Ching-te is the current favourite, with the 3 opposition candidates seemingly dividing support between them. But Gou doesn't seem too bothered about the opposition eating into each other's votes, and he says he's keen to work with both the Kuomintang's Hou Yu-yi and Ko Wen-je from the Taiwan People's Party.
我也将继续邀请在野阵营其他2位候选人一起坐下来，你喝咖啡，我喝奶茶，大家一起好好商谈国家大事。
So it's official. Terry Gou will join the race to be Taiwan's next president in 2024, assuming he gets the needed signatures. But now with 3 opposition candidates in the race, he faces a struggle to make it to the top of the pile. He'll perhaps be looking to make a deal, just like he does in business, so that he can end up as the opposition's main candidate and be the one who ends up winning in the end. Kaohsiung and Ed Moon in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Meanwhile, the other presidential candidates are pushing hard to win over the country's agricultural heartlands. On a trip to the south, opposition Kuomintang candidate Hou Yu-yi said that he would raise farmers' pensions to at least $250 a month. Meanwhile, ruling party candidate Lai Ching-te says that he would modernize farming technology. Third-party candidate Ko Wen-je says he is canceling trips to the U.S. and Southeast Asia to focus on campaigning in the center and south of the country, areas with strong agriculture sectors. Agriculture is only a small part of the economy, but about 10% of the population comes from farming households. Chinese warplanes spotted operating around Taiwan and Japan over the weekend could be practicing for a potential air blockade. That's according to military analysts here in Taiwan. These actions could push countries in the region to work more closely together. Jaime Ocon explains.
So far this year, Taiwan has reported over 1,000 Chinese warplanes flying around the country. Everything from helicopters, drones, and fighter jets have flown missions, but this past weekend's activity is shedding light on China's increasingly aggressive approach. On Saturday, Taiwan's military reported 20 Chinese warplanes breaching the country's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This is an area used by the military for defensive purposes, and it's not sovereign airspace. But what was different about Saturday's incursion was the flight path for 2 drones. They flew past Taiwan and towards nearby Japan. Some analysts say that the incursions amounted to a simulated air blockade of Taiwan, but not all agree.
These are not the kind of aircraft that can create a blockade on their own. It was clear that they were doing some kind of reconnaissance, either exercise or actually active operation, which is why they flew to an area outside of the ADIZ, which is where the Japanese MOD picked them up.
Taiwan is an island, which makes the threat of a possible air and sea blockade very serious. The country would be cut off from international supplies, and if a blockade were to be enforced, nearby countries like Japan would also be heavily affected. That's why both Japan and Taiwan have been investing more in air defense and anti-ship weapons that can prevent key shipping lanes from being closed. Some analysts say that that's not enough, and more investment is needed to monitor Chinese activity.
But the other 2 areas which I think are very important are investment into space in order to enhance the ISR and so intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance and targeting capabilities. This has been very clear in the latest national security strategy.
These capabilities would require increased investments in drones and satellites and better information sharing between allies in the region. Those countries have been stepping up their defense as China's increased military activity is seen as a preview to a potential move to take Taiwan by force. That's why information sharing would help Taiwan better target and coordinate its defense response, giving it a better chance to prevent any attempted blockade.
I think most likely with a blockade specifically, Beijing is going to announce it ahead of time because there's going to be major disruptions to civilian traffic and supply chains. But I don't think the PLA is ready to do that. I think there's a lot that goes into it that they just haven't practiced yet.
While Chinese planes and warships continue to operate around Taiwan, a blockade does not appear to be imminent. Taiwan's military is working to keep one from ever happening, but more cooperation with neighbors would certainly help. Howard Zhang and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
In international news, 3 U.S. Marines were killed in an accident in Australia on Sunday. 5 others were hospitalized when the Osprey aircraft they were on crashed during a military exercise on the remote Tiwi Islands. The Marines were taking part in joint U.S.-Australia military drills. The cause of that accident is being investigated. Russia has confirmed the death of the head of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin. Investigators tested DNA from the wreckage of a crashed private jet that Russia says Prigozhin was on. The crash on August 23rd came exactly 2 months after Prigozhin led an uprising against the Russian military's leadership. Prigozhin had publicly feuded with military leaders over their performance in the Ukraine war. Russia's President Vladimir Putin called Prigozhin's mutiny a stab in the back and labeled him a traitor. Still, Putin has sent his condolences to the families of those killed in the crash. U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo is in Beijing. It's the first visit by a Commerce Secretary in 7 years. Raimondo was met by Chinese Commerce Ministry official Ling Feng at the airport. During her 4-day trip, she is expected to meet with officials to discuss bilateral business ties. Raimondo is also set to visit Shanghai. Her trip comes as tensions between the U.S. and China are high, with both sides placing restrictions on each other's technology sectors. Before her trip, Raimondo said the two sides need to improve communication to avoid conflict, but that there would be no compromise on national security issues. Back in Taiwan, forget juice boxes. A blood drive is giving away lobsters. Several residents in the southern city of Kaohsiung got up extra early to line up to give blood in return for some shellfish. Joyce Sung has the story.
Too scared of needles to donate blood? Maybe a free lobster or two could change your mind. To combat blood shortages, the southern city of Kaohsiung is offering up a limited amount of the premium food as incentive to get people to come out and donate. And it seems to be working, with several residents getting up at the crack of dawn to make the line.
5点多出门
，5点多就出门了。
对，坐捷运来的。
6点多，顺便运动，顺便来捐血，顺便为民服务，顺便拿龙虾。
Kaohsiung City's blood bank was running low, with less than a week's worth for most blood types. But the shortage of blood is a nationwide problem. Some critics have pointed to the country's strict rules on who can and can't donate. Under current rules, people with blood-related cancers like leukemia, bleeding disorders, or have a record of malignant tumors cannot give blood. Taiwan's rules also ban people who are HIV or AIDS positive and those they consider to be at high risk of the disease, which includes members in the LGBTQ community. Those rules banned gay men from donating blood for life. In 2018, there was a proposal to change the ban to only those who've had homosexual intercourse within 5 years, but that amendment still hasn't passed.
我觉得其实也已经不符合现在的那个医学的现况了。对，那事实上我这整个关于就是怎么样可以捐血，怎么样不能捐血这件事情，我觉得都应该要参照现在的医学的发展来做调整。
Facing an aging society and low birth rates, Taiwan's pool of eligible blood donors will only keep getting smaller. Though a lobster may be enough to bring people out to donate this time, the country will likely have to revisit its eligibility rules to ensure its long-term blood flow. Chris Ma and Joyce Sin for TaiwanPlus.
National Taiwan University is now offering its students several mental health days each semester. As John Van Trieste reports, this is part of a trend toward looking after students' mental well-being.
At National Taiwan University, a new semester is underway. And with it comes a new rule. All students are now allowed 3 mental health days per semester, no questions asked. At the start of the term ceremony, the university's president shared his thoughts on the policy.
念博士的时候，在工作的时候，在面临家庭，也是有非常多的挫折。如何培养面对挫折的忍耐力，是我们每一个人一辈子都要修习的功课。
NTU is just the latest school to offer mental health days, and there's a reason the number adopting this initiative is growing. In the last decade, suicide rates among Taiwan's young people have tripled. A new national program giving young people free counseling has run out of spaces within a month of launching. With young people's mental health under such strain, NTU students expect the policy to bring benefits.
不想来学校，可能就可以优先请心理假。
因为失恋的话，就是很大的创伤嘛，对不对？所以就还是会想要把它拿来吃个饭，然后让自己的心情可以更好。
The head of NTU Student Association sees the policy as an important step.
承认每个人都是脆弱的这一件事情，而且每一个人他都应该要就是被重视到自己无论是生理、心理上面的需求。官方的这个角度，然后就是肯认的心理假它是有正面的意义，而不是在于说就是同学这心情不好的时候，永远都只能用翘课的方式。
It won't cure all the mental health issues facing young people today, but the hope is it will at least give those feeling overwhelmed a chance to hit the pause button and get recharged. Scott Huang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is set to start charging for a free meal service for seniors as it struggles to meet demand. As Rick Lau reports, this is just one area in which Taiwan is adapting to its aging society.
This is a government-subsidized food delivery, a lifeline for many elderly people in Taiwan. But with its current budget, the government is now struggling to keep up with rising demand.
这次就做了一个餐费的一个调整，我们调到100块一餐。那在志工的服务的交通费，我们也提高了。社救法的中低收要不要收10%的这件事情，我们还要内部还要再讨论。
Taiwan is heading towards becoming a super-aged society by 2025. More than 20% of the population will be aged over 65.
Taiwan's increasing cost of living and low wages mean younger Taiwanese are choosing not to have children. The country has one of the lowest fertility rates in the world. That, plus a strict immigration policy, means the country's population is shrinking and the percentage of older people is swelling.
This aging population is straining many aspects of Taiwan society, from public transport to healthcare. And lower-income Taiwanese, those most likely to use the government's food delivery service, are disproportionately affected.
There's not much of a safety net. Your pension is calculated, as I understand it, according to how much money you made. So if you worked, say, as a vendor in the night market, and your paper tax might be quite low, and so the retirement you receive is also going to be low.
Taiwan's Health and Welfare Ministry says it is still looking into how to meet the demand for subsidised meals, including offering food at senior centres to avoid delivery charges. As Taiwan's population continues to age, the question of who will carry the economic burden is becoming an ever-pressing question. John Su and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
A beach in Kaohsiung has been closed after balls of tar began appearing there over the weekend. Visitors reported the contamination in the swimming areas and on the sand of Beijing Beach, with several people getting tar on their bodies, as you can see now. The beach will be closed for several days for the pollution to be cleaned up. Local officials suspect the tar balls could be from a freight ship that sank off the port of Kaohsiung last month. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out some highlights from the Crazy for Taiwan concert by the One Song Orchestra. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. See you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.